with music and so much more. From all of us here at One Africa TV, it's Tengwes. Bye-bye.
International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUM for life. We are IUM.
Welcome to this evening's edition of Today on One. I'm Isai Sipunga. In the news tonight, family devastated after breadwinner dies in shack fire. First Lady hosts vaccination campaign in Soweto. ECN reminds political parties to submit audited financial reports. Need to decolonize youth mindset influenced by foreign culture, says Ambassador Nuyoma. Intensive agriculture is a high priority for economic recovery. And Roundup, Business on One, Comments Corner, Sports, and the weather. A 21-year-old woman residing in the Okahanya Park informal settlement is struggling to come to terms with the death of her older brother, who was the family breadwinner after he died in a shack fire. The deceased, a 26-year-old man, provided financial support for his cousin and sister, both whom are 21 years old.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
Fire that occurred on Wednesday destroyed 2 shacks and a small business that was operating on the property. The fire incident left 8 people destitute. The deceased younger sister, Helena Ngifikwa, says that she is unsure of how she will move on following her brother's passing. Ngifikwa, who is currently upgrading her grade 12 marks with NAMCOL, said her brother's death will have a severe effect on her studies.
The fire started from my brother's room where he was sleeping to the whole house, and everything burned down. We actually tried rescuing him, but it wasn't easy, because the house was already on fire, and yeah, we really tried to save his life, but it was not easy saving his life, and he was our breadwinner. We don't live with parents. I only live with my brother and my cousins, so I don't think we're gonna make it easy here, but yeah, we'll try. Even though it won't be easy studying for my exams because of my brother's loss. I'll try. And I really hope you people are going to help me with this and work out with this, even though it's not easy.
Ndudike okazi nangeri mumbo taiko umune moru maetaku then ama no kupenduka mwishna kapenduka ondotike nare ondudamundiri na mama all day na matem ama chovu bamu very vasria bakwa banangarane mume mpereke kwa ili hapa vangi kanaenda vovyange no vya kuifanange na mundai kanaenda paturapo po nduda atutrenga kufano anu veve tukwafere mara uve kwala tanai twakala numbo village taritake onwerimeni nga equazione mechi twapumbwa documents da toike in mesho ya plapo katuna patura ranonena kan twapumbwikera no makwaso shashi na kuruntuka epo muno eriko ambo katuniki in mesho nje kwa ituno ya plapo.
Emmanuel Kamati, a community leader in the Tobias Hainyeko, appealed to Good Samaritans to assist the 2 young women who were left destitute by the fire.
Ndi otono mumbo unene tu yosho unana tumbo tawi goskora wapi umbo de la piapo kauna nanto ya pinga ko na mata unangara. That's why to know indiro nene kutia ngeno puna on singienda umwe tapulo kutukwa fera na shita kwa fare ngashi kundo hawi goskora mambo ya goskora ya piapo kaunega hiyo napo kutia no textbook kwa esa maribook everything is bent yeah ongane ero kahanja paka utadengwa pedu nene nakato na ngetu tie ilonga karunga mara anyway atindire kaga nantima ngenda ponga bakubro kutukwa fera na hi venapo opotuburo kushuna pamba shunana nona business atopotubura abro kwa ferwa nataka mata bro kwa ferwa oponge shefe ya kwa meho itukwa fera nataka gashi yakala haitukwa fera.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
Hello. Spa 2 plateau lid rolls, 18s for just $89.99. Wow. And 1 kg Spa smooth or fruit yogurt for only $25.99.
It's the Spa Products Best for Less sale, only at Spa.
The Office of the First Lady this week hosted its 10th COVID-19 vaccination pop-up at the Soweto Market in Katatura, where it targeted 400 Namibians to get vaccinated. This is part of its #LoveProtects campaign aimed at encouraging Namibians to get vaccinated.
The First Lady at the occasion spread the message of the #LoveProtects campaign, noting that vaccination is not the only way of protecting one another from the COVID-19 virus, but it is a key approach, further acknowledging stakeholders such as Deb Marine, MTC, FNB, City of Windhoek, UNDP and UNFPA that have provided assistance in the vaccination pop-ups.
It's really the essence of Love Protects is when you love something, yourself, your family members, your community, the society that you live in, you want to protect it. And you want to do everything to protect your loved ones, including not being a vector for a virus, which can be managed and controlled through mask wearing, through social distancing, through vaccination, through responsible behavior. So the basis was to say, we love you, we love each other, we love our society, we love our community, we love our economy, we want to protect that. We stop believing in HPV vaccines, we start believing and trusting our doctors, we stop believing and trusting our healthcare system and our Minister of Health. So it's important to remind our community it's not just about COVID-19. There at the testing centers, you can also be tested for HIV, you can be referred to medication, there's family planning there, and there's other forms of health services available. Because health services must be accessible, they must be available, but we also want to have medical personnel who are there today who can provide all of the services and explanations that are needed.
The head of state, President Hage Geingob, took the opportunity to encourage members of the public to get their vaccinations, as many lives were lost to the COVID-19 virus, noting that it does not discriminate.
This disease one good thing is it doesn't discriminate. It started top. No discrimination. That's the only good thing. But the rest is bad. People have died. We lost our loved ones. It was unbelievable. The names we were getting of people dying. And as somebody said, I lost many of mine too, family members. But the fact that you cannot go and bury them, you're just sitting there and people are doing their job there. We never saw a situation like that. Now therefore we are saying to stop that. This is actually.
The Chief Human Capital and Corporate Affairs Officer at MTC clarified that the introduction of incentives for vaccinations should not be seen as bribes, but rather as a way to appreciate those that have taken the government's call to vaccinate.
Now, these incentives are not bribes, and I think it is a very important point to mention. These are not bribes. These are simply a fight between those who are pro-vaccinations, which is the right thing to do, versus the unreasonable voices who are anti-vaccination. And this stretches from your Twitter, social media, and there's a lot of misinformation happening there. And incentivizing people is not a drive. It is simply a way of encouraging our people and saying, thank you very much for coming out and keeping yourselves and your families safe. And that is why so many corporates and governments across the world have gone out with incentive programs. And as long as these incentive programs are not seen in the way of bribery, they should be fine. We've seen a lot of corporates in Namibia was giving their staff members annual leave days. Some have given them monetary rewards. In countries like Germany, we've seen people getting beer cases. But it's really about what is it that your citizens appreciate. But the intent is very, very important. The fact that people are coming out and saying we are encouraging you to come out and vaccinate, I think the emphasis must be on the intent. If it is done with the intent to protect you as a citizen, to protect your families, then it is the right thing to do.
The Soweto Market vaccination pop-up also provided other healthcare services such as sexual and reproductive health and rights services, HIV testing, HIV medication referral, distribution of contraceptives, family planning counseling, psychosocial counseling, GBV screening and counseling, which were all free and available to everyone.
Win free airtime with Learn on One. Tell us what's your favorite subject on Learn on One and win $50 airtime. SMS your answer, name, age, and the town you live in to 555. Standard T's and C's and SMS rates apply. Learn on One. Invite learning in.
Theo Muyoro, the Chief Electoral Officer of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, says that the electoral body is having difficulties with some political parties that do not submit annual audited financial statements as required by the Electoral Act.
Since the enactment of the Electoral Act in 2014, political parties and organizations are required to provide the Commission with audited financial statements at the end of each financial year.
There are certain sections of the Electoral Act that obligates political parties, but also organizations to submit audited financial statements at defined intervals. It's one of the issues that we are currently grappling with. We are having difficulties on the part of some political parties are not able to meet these obligations of the law. Some are able to meet certain obligations to some respect, to some degree, but it's an issue that we are dealing with currently. We have recently written to all political parties to remind them of their obligations in as far as this issue is concerned. But I think we would call all parties together in the very near future where we will discuss this matter in detail so that parties understand the importance of their obligations. You know, the importance of their obligations to fulfill these particular requirements. And so that it's an important matter because it speaks to issues of integrity, issues of transparency, financial accountability. It's a very important matter. We will try and join forces with other entities, maybe other state institutions, when we bring our parties under the same roof and really discuss this issue. So it's not a small matter. It's an issue that we're dealing with, but we are the first ones to recognize that indeed there are difficulties on the part of some political parties.
Political parties with representatives in parliament receive funding from the national budget and are accountable to the general public for how those funds are managed and used. According to Muyoro, certain parties appear to have difficulties in terms of their capacity to produce audited financial reports. However, those that are in the National Assembly are obliged to submit their reports.
Our parties' profiles are different. There are parties that basically participates in all elections all the time. There are parties that participate only in certain elections. I don't know, perhaps because of capacity issues and stuff like that. So it appears that some parties simply have difficulties, simply don't have the capacity maybe to be able to produce audited financial statements and submit these requested reports. We have those type of scenarios. But of course, then you find parties that are represented in the National Assembly. Of course, because, some parties claim that they have nothing to report on because they have no source of income and they don't have a penny. But of course, those that are in the National Assembly, I think in as far as meeting these obligations, it's something that we are currently working on, and we're really trying hard to really tighten the screws on this particular issue.
The ECN's annual report for the 2020 to 2021 financial years recorded that the All People's Party and the Popular Democratic Movement were the only political parties to submit financial statements to the Commission for the 2019 and 2020 fiscal years. The Landless People's Movement and the Independent Patriots for Change were not registered as parties during the previous financial years. Parties such as the Workers' Revolutionary Party and Christian Democratic Voice have never provided audited financial records, while the PDM, APP and SWAPO have been the most consistent since 2014.
Great combo deal from Choppies! Choppies, great value for your money.
A recently formed foundation which aims at decolonizing the mindsets of the youth in order to embrace a spirit of patriotism and nationalism has been launched in Swakopmund by the former Namibian ambassador to Brazil, Samuel Shefeni Nuyoma.
Former Namibian ambassador to Brazil, Samuel Shefeni Nuyoma, said that the mindset of the Africans, especially the youth, have been corrupted and shaped by foreign influences and cultures due to colonialization and human degradation.
For years, the world has been focusing on the continent, knowing very well about its benefit. But what about Africans themselves? As the world continues to exploit African resources, some African leaders has in the past emerged and opened the mindset of fellow Africans towards realizing their strength, such as Thomas Sankara and many others. There is, however, a great need to liberate the minds of Africans completely, to an extent that they can run their own continent successfully for the benefit of its people. The struggle by African people for political freedom, equal rights and self-determination will be meaningless without cultural economic independence. The key to economic independence, cultural and intellectual freedom is education that's aiming to liberate and decolonize the mindset. Today, the African, particulars the youth mindset, had been shaped by foreigner influences and Western cultures due to the past long period of colonialism and human degradation. Many Africans have become ashamed of their own history, cultural norms and values. As a result of this, education is also being experienced today. Many Africans have become ashamed of their traditional name.
Members of the community welcomed the establishment of the foundation and thanked Nuyoma for such an initiative to educate the society.
I think at this institution we are going to learn a lot. And I'm inviting all the young people out there. When that Nuyoma is going to approach us or to invite us, let us come in a big number so that we listen what we are going to be taught. We need to think African, we need to think Namibian.
Most of our actions, our activities, it's the thought process manifest into actions. And I believe that just for us to be able to come together at the platform where we can say, let us talk and help each other to rethink, then it means that we will change our actions, because it is in the thinking it's through the thinking that the actions are manifested. And sometimes things look so difficult when we don't talk to each other, but the moment that we are opening our thought processes to each other, we declare it, then you realize that it was probably not even a difficult one.
Our forefathers could not be educated to feed themselves. That's why they are represented by trade unions to determine their future. But they, as children, as youngsters, the leaders of tomorrow, must take up and to take education seriously so that it can fit this nation. And that's why, dear Ambassador, we give you our full support that we will drive with you this noble idea to its fullest, and we hope that when the real question and competition time comes, we will give you our 150% on that matter.
The Institute is fully independent and will be in accordance with the rights of expression of individuals, the law of Namibia, and those of Africa. Ambassador Nuyoma urged community groups, especially the youth, to contact the foundation for discussions.
Amanda het sopas 'n mat onder my voet uitgeruk. Ek het nie nou krag om te beklei of te apologize nie.
Ek het altyd gewonder oor die storie dat iemand in 'n koma kan hoor wat om hulle aangaan.
So shut up, Willem! Jy soek my al lankal. So my ek deur jou. Kom maar jy wat jy soek. Nie my seun nie. Nee. So.
Intensive agriculture has become an important source for Namibia's economic recovery and will support national food security against the volatility caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war.
Minister of Agriculture, Carla Schletwein,
commented that amidst the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, along with the war in Europe, Namibia is facing a food price crisis, which may lead to food availability crisis. He stated that agriculture is not an extramural activity, but rather an essential part of the survival of a country's economy. Schletwein made these remarks during the 2022 Annual Agricultural Online Series, a platform where development and compelling investment opportunities in the agricultural sector were discussed.
I take the view that we in fact do not have to wait for the spin-offs of the green hydrogen investments to support the agricultural sector better. I think we can start, and we actually have to start immediately.
Yeah.
Now, there is an advantage that technology gives us. We have a lot of sun all over the country, so power generation, standalone power plants in green schemes offer a solution to reduce price for power very significantly. We have better ability to find groundwater resources and evaluate them. So at a small scale, we can develop small pockets of intensive farming wherever the resources allow, and that is the input resources like land, water, and power. And we believe that that needs to be brought about by these institutions that government has actually created to support small-scale farmers. It is the AMTAs and the agribusiness of this world were created to, with the proceeds, the revenues that they make out of their business, that they would support farmers. But that model, as I have said, did not work well. There were serious deficiencies, and they became more of a burden to farmers than they were supporting them. So we have to turn that around. We have to be very precise, very accurate with assessing what support has the biggest impact and provide those supports. It is absolutely necessary that we start with the smallest scale of farmers. And that is why intensive agriculture is so high on our priority. If you only have 10 hectares, you must make a living of that 10 hectares, and you must make a good living of that piece of land. And it is possible.
Schletwein added that the domestic and global economy should work together to grow the agricultural sector to gross domestic product, because agriculture is the most absorbent sector for job creation. He added that Namibian agriculture has a window of opportunity to do much better in creating economic self-sufficiency.
Agriculture is not a silo in isolation of other sectors. And when we say that we place emphasis on startups, we also say startups in agriculture for the youth. And I believe that our public financial institutions must do a better job to support startups, to support young people to start an uncomplicated business, to rope in women when they make financial instruments available that gets a young person going. Of course, there are risks. Some of them will fail, some will make it. But so be it. That is, I think, a responsive government's job to make it possible for startups to create. Namibia is not industrialized. And startups in producing raw material and developing value chains, whether it is beef, whether it is grain, whether it is diamonds, whether it is any raw material that we have, is our way to go. And yes, as I said, agriculture is not a silo, so it is not agricultural's budget that will support the youth. It must be, yes, the budget, but also the financial sector, the public financial sector, and the private financial sector. They must start getting into the field of seriously developing instruments for startups.
The minister said the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine and Russia war have changed the country's priorities from relying on trade towards self-sufficiency.
We never thought that this would actually happen in our country, especially for the youth. Everyone wants to play soccer now because of the obsolete.
In other leading stories, the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation announced that Meatco's first consignment of Namibian beef from the northern communal areas has arrived in Accra, Ghana on Wednesday this week. In a statement making the news public, the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation says this is part of their efforts to continue enhancing its economic diplomacy and create market access for Namibian products. The meat is being imported by the Abanga Farms and Food Systems, a Ghanaian company that has signed a contract with Meatco as a sole distributor. This is the first time that Namibian beef is entering the West African country's market. To mark this historic event, the High Commissioner of Namibia in Ghana organized an event at the Tama Harbour, Accra, on 29 June 2022. Attendance included the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, represented by Charity Gedawo, Director of Africa, members of Parliament, traditional authorities, senior officials of the Ghanaian Ministries of Foreign Affairs, Trade, Agriculture, Veterinary Services, the Ghana Association of Ghana Industries, the Ghana International Trade and Finance Services, Ghana Chef Association, the Namibia-Ghana Friendship Association, and other captains of industry. The sales manager of Meatco was also in attendance. The Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation said this achievement is a significant boost for bilateral trade between Namibia and Ghana and a contribution to the enhancement of intra-African trade. The ministry commended Ambassador Selma Shipala Mushavi, High Commissioner of Namibia to Ghana, and Mulima Mushokobanji, CEO of Meatco, and their respective teams for this milestone. They also expressed appreciation to the Ministries of Agriculture, Water and Rural Development, and Industrialization and Trade for their cooperation and support.
At Spar, we've worked hard to get you low prices on great products every day. Like Crossen Blackwell tangy or creamy mayonnaise for only $30.99, and Pampers Baby Dry Nappies or Nappy Pads Jumbo Pack for only $199.99. It's low prices for you every day at Spar.
Up next is Business on One with Joseph Shifeni.
Business on One was proudly brought to you by the Government Institutions Pension Fund.
Welcome to this evening's edition of Business on One. The Government Institutions Pension Fund, JPF, remains in a sound financial state with a surplus level that is sufficient for the fund to meet its liabilities. This was revealed by the Chief Executive Officer of JPF, David Nuyoma, in an exclusive interview with Business on One after the recent release of the actuarial valuation report. The JPF conducts an actuarial report every 3 years to evaluate whether the fund's assets are able to cover liabilities, a common practice among pension funds. For the period ended the 1st of March 2021, the report indicates that the JPF remains in a healthy state, having met the target funding level of between 105% and 115%.
I'm happy to say that for the period ending 31st of March 2021, the report shows very good results, that the fund is sound, that the fund is in a position to pay its short, medium, and long-term liabilities. It is funded by a factor of 13% above normal. In other words, we have a surplus of 13% above the liabilities. In this case, in terms of figures, the fund was found to have 135 billion Namibian dollars in terms of assets, and the liabilities of 118 billion. So leaving a surplus position of 16 billion. That is after taking into account reserves of 21%, which in this instance was 21 billion Namibian dollars. The reserves are put aside on identified major risks that have been noted.
According to Nuyoma, JPF uses an asset liability modeling investment strategy to mitigate investment liability. This also allows them to be aware of the likely outcome of the evaluation from the actuarial report.
As a defined benefit fund, it's so critical that we keep our eyes on the liabilities. Hence, we look at an asset and liability model in terms of allocating assets when investments are being made, in terms of the type of assets we purchase. So we use an investment model which have an emphasis on liabilities at all time. And on a monthly basis, it's not only the income returns that we look at, but we also mimic or we tabulate mathematically what will be the potential liability at any given time. That's why when it came out, we were all along already aware the valuation at the end of the day will more or less come out the same way as it has come out today.
JPF is the largest pension fund in the country, and they have been honoring their statutory obligation, with the actuarial valuations serving as a tool that enables them to manage the pension funds by setting an appropriate organizational and investment strategy.
Business on One was proudly brought to you by the Government Institutions Pension Fund.
And that is all we have for you. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages for more on the business front.
Great combo deal from Choppies! Choppies, great value for your money.
The affirmative repositioning movement has expressed their opposition to the government's proposal to lease land, particularly communal land, to foreign nationals. The new draft land bill, which would allow foreigners to lease agricultural and communal land for their own purposes, is scheduled to be approved in September. David says what is needed is a new government. Nongo said, does this also mean foreigners from Africa will also not be allowed to lease land? Steve says, what about Namibian citizens looking for land? Employees of the Swakopmund municipality have accused management and council officials of corruption and unfair treatment while handling misconduct. These grievances are part of the petition which the employees handed over to the council last week. Abbott says the employees should take drastic measures if the petition is not addressed. Seblin says the petition is full of tribalism. And that's it from Commons Corner. Be sure to engage on our stories on our social media pages for broadcast only on Today on One. Now we're crossing over to Castro Lumbu with the latest in sports.
Welcome to Sports on One. I'm your host Castro Lumbu. Born and raised in Katutura's dusty street of Damara location on the 1st of December 1968, Julian Gary says, who has worn different hats in women football fraternity such as the founder of women football in the country and being recognized by the Confederation of Africa.
She grew up. We went to Swaziland also on our way. We nearly end up in Mozambique. The love and passion that we have for the game, it just grows. School started and then, as you said, the rest is history. So there was a good number of players that came through from our generation. I played at club level. And also, interesting story, I can tell you this. When we play, I play for City Girls. Jackie Hester was playing for Junam. That's the time Katamba was coaching. We played at Kadutura Sport Complex. And then we were leading 2-1. And then they got a penalty. I was the goalkeeper. And then Jackie wanted to show, University, we are ready. And you know, people from the south is very skillful players. So he came through. I catch him, my friend. It means retirement. So Jackie retired at that note. If one looks back, you see what Jackie is doing, both Jackies are doing in football, then you feel happy because it was your former players, it become your friends, and now they are technical director and acting secretary general. What more can you ask from this beautiful game?
Among Garises's personal achievements includes being an ambassador to bid for the hosting of the Africa Cup of Nations tournament in 2010, which Namibia lost out to neighbor Angola. And in 2014, she managed to secure funds for Namibia to host Women COSAFA through Telecom.
Thank you for watching. Catch us again next week for Sports on One. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages for more updates on the sports front.
Thank you, Castro, for that update. Now let's have a look at the weekend's weather forecast.
The interior will be sunny and warm to hot in the northwest. Elsewhere, partly cloudy and mild to warm, but hot in the north. A fresh northerly to a northwesterly wind will be expected in the south. The coast will be partly cloudy and mild to warm with fog patches at first. Wind will be light to moderate northwesterly to southwesterly. Here's what travelers can expect in places in and around the country.
That's all we have for you. Please don't forget to catch the Omnibus tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. From me, Isai Sipunga, and the rest of the team, it's good night.
The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are